Welcome back to the channel USA Coins 69. Today we are talking about a quarter that almost everyone has held, spent, or tossed into a jar, even though some versions of this exact coin have sold for more money than a used car, and the wild part is most people never realized what they were holding. At first glance the 1776 to 1976 Washington quarter feels familiar. But stay with me because by the end of this video you'll know why this coin was different from every other quarter ever made, which hidden details collectors hunt for, and how certain examples quietly reach shocking prices. Bring the camera in close and let the front of the coin fill the screen, because this quarter was created to celebrate America's 200th birthday, and instead of a single year, it proudly carries two dates, 1776 and 1976. Something no other regular U.S. coin ever did. Focus on George Washington's portrait and let the light roll across his face, because sharp details here already tell you whether you're looking at a worn spender or a coin collectors might care about. Now flip the coin over slowly and let the reveal sink in, because instead of the eagle, you see the colonial drummer boy, one of the most iconic designs ever used on a U.S. coin, created specifically for the bicentennial celebration. Pen across the reverse and pause on the torch and stars, because this design symbolized freedom, independence, and national pride at a time when the entire country was celebrating its history. Here's where things get interesting, because millions of these quarters were made, but not all of them are the same, and this is the moment collectors lean in. Check the edge of the coin and let the camera linger there, because most bicentennial quarters are copper nickel clad, but some were struck in 40% silver, and those feel heavier and look slightly different. Now zoom in under Washington's neck to look for the mint mark. Because Philadelphia coins have no letter, Denver coins show a D, and San Francisco coins show an S, and that S is where the silver versions come into play. The San Francisco silver bicentennial quarters were made for collectors, not circulation, and many people don't realize they even exist, which makes finding one a real surprise. Here's another moment collectors love, because some bicentennial quarters were struck with errors, including double dies where letters and numbers appear thick or shadowed. Zoom in on the date and the word Liberty, because genuine doubling here can push value far beyond face value if it's original and not damage. There are also off-center strikes, clipped planchets, and even dramatic misalignments from this coin, and when those errors are bold, collectors compete hard to own them. Before we talk money, tilt the coin under the light and show the surface, because condition matters, and clean, uncirculated examples are far harder to find than people expect. This is usually the point where people start thinking about their own change jars, because these quarters were used everywhere, and many still sit unnoticed in homes around the world. So let's talk real value, no hype, just facts, because a normal circulated bicentennial quarter is usually worth face value. A silver bicentennial quarter, depending on silver prices, is worth significantly more than face value just for its metal content. High-grade uncirculated examples can sell for tens to hundreds of dollars, especially when professionally graded, and when you step into rare error territory, auction prices have reached into the thousands of dollars for standout bicentennial quarters with dramatic mistakes. That's why this coin still fascinates collectors, because it blends American history, a one-time design, and the possibility of hidden value in a coin people still spend. Now I want to hear from you. Do you own a 1776 to 1976 quarter? Have you ever checked one for silver or errors, and which U.S. coin would you love to add to your collection? The bicentennial Washington quarter proves that even common coins can hold incredible stories and surprising value if you know what to look for. Today we are talking about a quarter you probably spent without thinking twice, even though some versions of this exact 2021 Washington quarter have already shocked collectors, and the crazy part is this coin is still hiding in everyday change right now. At first this sounds impossible, because how could a modern quarter be interesting? But stay with me because I'll show you why 2021 became a turning point year, which designs make this coin special, and how small mistakes have already pushed certain examples far beyond face value. Bring the camera in close and let the obverse fill the screen, because for the final time in history, George Washington appears in his classic design before a major change hit U.S. quarters. Tilt the coin under the light and focus on Washington's portrait, because sharp details and clean fields already separate an average spender from something collectors start paying attention to. Now flip the coin over slowly, because this is Where 2021 gets exciting, and this is where most people miss the story completely, early 2021 quarters continue the America the Beautiful series, showing national parks and historic sites, so pan across the reverse and let the design breathe on camera. Each of these reverses marks the end of a massive multi-year series, and collectors already treat final year coins differently, especially when condition is strong. But here's the twist that caught everyone off guard. Because later in 2021 the Mint released an entirely new reverse design, Washington crossing the Delaware, and this design only appears for a short time. Zoom in on that dramatic scene, Washington standing boldly in the boat, because this modern, powerful artwork instantly set these quarters apart from everything that came before. This sudden design switch created instant collector buzz. And that's exactly when people started checking their change more closely. Now look carefully at the mint mark under Washington's neck, because Philadelphia coins have no letter, Denver coins show a D, and San Francisco coins show an S, and that S can mean proof or special strike. Bring the camera closer to the surface, because this is where errors come into play, and this is where modern coins can surprise even longtime collectors. Some 2021 quarters show double die features, where letters or details appear slightly doubled, especially on the date or reverse text. Others were struck off center, have die cracks, or show dramatic strike-through errors, and when these mistakes are clear and untouched, collectors move fast. Pause the shot here, because condition matters more than ever with modern coins, and scratches, cleaning, or damage can destroy value instantly. This is the moment where people start realizing that modern coins aren't boring, they're just waiting for the right details to be noticed. Now let's talk real value, no hype, just facts, because a normal circulated 2021 Washington quarter is worth face value. Uncirculated examples with sharp detail can be worth several dollars, especially early high-grade pieces saved straight from rolls. Proof and special San Francisco issues can reach into the tens of dollars depending on condition and packaging, and when it comes to strong errors or dramatic varieties, auction prices have reached into the hundreds of dollars, with standout examples selling for amounts that surprise anyone who thought modern quarters were worthless. That's why this coin matters, because the 2021 Washington quarter marks an ending, a beginning, and a reminder that collectible coins don't always come from the distant past. Now I want to hear from you. Have you checked your 2021 quarters? Did you notice the design change? And which modern coin would you love to find an error on? The 2021 Washington quarter proves that history is still being made in your pocket, one coin at a time. Today we are talking about a quarter that changed American money forever, a coin so common that millions of people have spent it without thinking, even though a few rare examples have shocked collectors with their value. At first glance the 1965 Washington quarter looks just like any other, but stay with me because this single year marks one of the biggest turning points in U.S. coin history, and by the end you'll know exactly why collectors still search for this coin today. Bring the camera in close and let Washington's portrait fill the frame, because 1965 was the first year quarters were officially made without silver, replacing precious metal with copper and nickel to save costs. Now tilt the coin under the light and show the edge clearly, because this is where the story starts to feel unbelievable, with a visible copper stripe sandwiched between nickel layers. Here's the twist that keeps collectors curious, because during the changeover, a few 1965 quarters were accidentally struck on leftover 90% silver planchets from 1964. Slow the shot down and bring in a scale or let the coin ring lightly, because silver quarters feel heavier and sound different, and that difference is exactly what collectors listen for. Flip the coin over and let the eagle come into focus, because the reverse still shows the classic design, even though the metal inside was completely different from years before. Now zoom in on the date, 1965, because unlike earlier quarters, this one has no mint mark at all, a decision made by the mint to discourage hoarding during the silver shortage. That missing mint mark alone makes 1965 quarters stand out in every collection. Here's where errors enter the story, and this is where things get exciting, because 1965 quarters are known for dramatic mint mistakes. Some were struck off center, others show double die details where letters and numbers appear thick or shadowed, and a few even show clipped planchets that remove part of the coin entirely. Bring the camera in close and scan the lettering and rim, because clean, original errors are where serious value begins. Pause here for a moment, because this is usually where people realize they might have walked past something valuable without knowing what to check. Condition matters too, so let the light glide across the surface, because scratches, cleaning, or heavy wear can erase value instantly. This is why uncirculated examples, especially those saved right when the coin was released, are so important today. Now let's talk real value, no hype, just facts, because a normal circulated 1965 Washington quarter is worth face value. Uncirculated examples can be worth several dollars, especially when the strike is sharp and the surfaces are clean. A confirmed silver 1965 quarter is extremely rare and has sold at auction for tens of thousands of dollars. Strong error coins from this year can reach into the hundreds or even thousands of dollars, depending on how dramatic the mistake is. That's why this coin still fascinates collectors, because it represents change, mistakes, and opportunity all wrapped into one quarter. Now I want to hear from you. Do you own a 1965 quarter? Have you ever checked one for silver or errors? And which U.S. coin would you love to find in an unexpected version? The 1965 Washington quarter proves that even the most common coins can hide incredible stories and surprising value. Today we are talking about a coin that looks ordinary at first, but some 1967 Washington quarters have quietly surprised collectors, and the crazy part is you could already be holding one without even realizing it. At first glance, this quarter looks like every other coin in circulation. But stay with me, because by the end of this video you'll know why 1967 was a turning point for U.S. quarters, which tiny details make certain coins collectible, and how some examples have already reached serious auction prices. Bring the camera in close and let George Washington's portrait fill the frame, because sharp detail in the hair and coat is one of the first signs a collector looks for when evaluating these modern coins. Tilt the coin under the light and focus on the date, 1967. Because this year continues the post-silver era, meaning all circulating quarters were made from copper-nickel clad. But that's only part of the story. Flip the coin over and slowly pan across the eagle, because the reverse shows the classic design, and it's in the details here that serious collectors spot potential errors or unusual features. Now zoom in on the lettering and rim, because some 1967 quarters show subtle double dies where letters appear thickened or slightly shifted, and spotting these can make a huge difference in value. Here's a detail most people overlook, but it's where collectors get excited. Die cracks, off-center strikes, and slight misalignments happen occasionally, and when they're sharp and original, the coins become sought-after treasures. Pause on the coin's surface and let the copper-nickel color shine, because uncirculated coins with original luster are far more valuable than ones that have been circulated heavily or cleaned improperly. This is the moment many collectors start paying attention, because even though millions of 1967 quarters exist, finding a high-grade error or flawless example can feel like winning a small lottery. Let's talk numbers, because a normal circulated 1967 quarter is worth face value. Uncirculated examples with sharp detail can sell for a few dollars, and coins with strong mint errors or double dies have been known to reach into the hundreds at auction. Professional graded coins, especially ones with dramatic errors or perfect surfaces, can sometimes exceed several $100s, which surprises anyone who thinks modern quarters aren't collectible. Now I want to hear from you. Do you own any 1967 Washington quarters? Have you ever checked your change for errors? And which coin would you love to find in your collection? The 1967 Washington quarter shows that even modern coins can hide surprises, history, and unexpected value if you know what to look for. Today we are talking about a coin that most people think of as everyday change, but the 1987 Washington quarter has quietly surprised collectors, and some examples have sold for hundreds of dollars despite being only a few decades old. At first glance, this quarter looks normal, but stay with me, because by the end of this video you'll know why 1987 is worth checking, which small details make certain coins collectible, and what mistakes could turn a regular quarter into a hidden treasure. Bring the camera in close and let George Washington's portrait fill the frame, because sharp hairlines and a clean profile are the first things collectors look for when evaluating a modern quarter. Tilt the coin under the light and focus on the date, 1987, because this year marks part of the continuing copper-nickel clad series, but the subtle errors that show up here are what collectors chase. Flip the coin over slowly and pan across the eagle, Because the reverse design looks familiar, but details like sharp feathers and lettering can reveal whether the coin was struck perfectly or if there's a hidden mint error. Now zoom in on the lettering and rim, because some 1987 quarters show doubling in the date or inscriptions, called double dies, and spotting these can turn a common coin into a collectible. Here's another detail most people miss. Off-center strikes and die cracks happen occasionally, and when they are strong and untouched, these coins can suddenly become valuable. Bring the camera in close to the surface and let the light highlight the luster, because uncirculated coins with original color and sharp details are far more desirable than worn or cleaned coins. This is the moment people start thinking about their own change jars, because millions of these quarters exist. But finding a high-grade error or perfect uncirculated example can feel like finding a needle in a haystack. Let's talk real value. Because a circulated 1987 Washington quarter is usually worth face value, uncirculated examples in strong condition can sell for a few dollars, while proof coins or those with special mint marks can reach into the tens of dollars. Error coins, like double dies or off-center strikes, have sold at auction for several $100s depending on how dramatic and clean the mistake is. That's why this coin is fascinating, because even a modern quarter can carry hidden value and history, and knowing what to look for separates collectors from casual spenders. Now I want to hear from you. Do you own any 1987 Washington quarters? Have you ever checked your coins for errors? And which modern coin would you love to find in your collection? The 1987 Washington quarter proves that even recent coins can hold surprises, collectible errors, and unexpected value. Today we are talking about a coin that most people think is just ordinary change, but the 1988 Washington quarter has quietly surprised collectors, and a few rare versions have already sold for prices that make people do a double take. At first glance, this quarter looks like any other, but stay with me because by the end of this video you'll know why 1988 is worth checking, which small errors or unique features make certain coins collectible, and how some examples have quietly reached auction value far beyond face. Bring the camera in close and let George Washington's portrait fill the frame, because sharp detail in the hair and coat immediately tells collectors whether the coin is a standard circulation piece or something worth looking at closely. Tilt the coin under the light and focus on the date, 1988, because this is a continuation of the copper-nickel-clad series. But subtle variations in striking and design are what separate the ordinary from the collectible. Flip the coin over slowly and pan across the eagle, because while the reverse design looks familiar, sharp feathers, lettering, and clean edges can indicate that this coin was struck perfectly or may hide a mint error. Now zoom in on the lettering and the rim, because some 1988 Washington quarters show double dies, where letters or numbers appear slightly thickened or shadowed, and spotting these can turn a normal quarter into something rare. Here's another detail most people miss. Off-center strikes and die cracks appear occasionally, and when they are bold and untouched, these coins can quickly become valuable. Bring the camera closer to the surface and let the light show the original luster, because uncirculated coins in excellent condition are far more sought after than worn or cleaned pieces. This is the moment many collectors start checking their change jars, because millions of 1988 quarters exist, but finding a high-grade error or pristine uncirculated example feels like hitting a small treasure. Let's talk real value, because a circulated 1988 Washington quarter is typically worth face value. Uncirculated examples with strong detail can sell for a few dollars, while proof coins or special San Francisco mint issues can reach into the tens of dollars. Error coins, like double dies, off-center strikes, or die cracks, have sold at auction for several $100s. Depending on how dramatic and clean the mistake is. That's why this coin is fascinating, because even modern quarters can carry history, hidden mistakes, and unexpected value that only careful collectors notice. Now I want to hear from you. Do you own any 1988 Washington quarters? Have you ever checked your coins for errors? And which modern coin would you love to find in your collection? The 1988 Washington quarter proves that even recent coins can hide collectible surprises, rare errors, and history right in your pocket. Today we are talking about a coin that most people see every day without a second thought, but the 1991 Washington quarter has quietly captured the attention of collectors, and some examples have sold for surprising amounts despite being less than 40 years old. At first glance, this quarter looks completely ordinary, but stay with me because by the end of this video you'll know why 1991 is worth checking, which tiny errors make certain coins collectible, and how. Some examples quietly reach auction values far above face. Bring the camera in close and let George Washington's portrait fill the frame, because sharp detail in the hair and coat immediately shows whether this is a standard circulation coin or one worth a closer look. Tilt the coin under the light and focus on the date, 1991, because this coin is part of the copper-nickel clad series. But subtle differences in striking and detail separate everyday quarters from rare finds. Flip the coin over slowly and pan across the eagle, because while the reverse design looks familiar, sharp feathers, crisp lettering, and clean rims can indicate if this coin has an unusual feature or mint error. Now zoom in on the lettering and numbers, because some 1991 quarters show double dies, where letters or numbers appear thickened or slightly shadowed, and spotting these can turn a regular quarter into a collectible. Here's a detail most people overlook: off-center strikes, die cracks, and weak strikes appear occasionally, and when they are bold and untouched, collectors consider these coins highly desirable. Bring the camera closer to the coin's surface and let the light reveal the original luster, because uncirculated coins in excellent condition are far more valuable than circulated or cleaned examples. This is where people start checking their own change jars, because millions of 1991 quarters exist, but finding a high-grade error or a pristine uncirculated example can feel like discovering a small treasure. Let's talk real value, because a circulated 1991 Washington quarter is typically worth face value. Uncirculated examples with strong detail can sell for a few dollars, while proof or special San Francisco Mint issues can reach into the tens of dollars. Error coins, like double dies, off-center strikes, or die cracks, have sold at auction for several $100s depending on how dramatic and clean the mistake is. That's why this coin is fascinating, because even modern quarters can carry history, hidden errors, and surprising value for collectors who know what to look for. Now I want to hear from you. Do you own any 1991 Washington quarters? Have you ever checked your coins for mint errors? And which modern coin would you love to add to your collection? The 1991 Washington quarter proves that even recent coins can hide collectible surprises, rare errors, and hidden value right in your pocket.